Hello. This video is about risk assessment. Before we get into assessment, we have some vocabulary terms that we need to go over. First of all, risk is the possibility of any potential adverse event that could injure the accounting information system or the organization. The term likelihood is the probability that the event will occur. The terms exposure or impact of the event is the potential dollar loss that would occur if the event becomes a reality. And the frequency is the number of times the event could occur in a particular time frame. So where do we directly address risk in the enterprise risk management model? Well, it occurs around that third row in the model. And this requires management to identify all the events that may affect the company's ability to implement its strategy and achieve its objectives. Usually management does this by brainstorming or analyses, and they then classify the events as either risks or non-risks. Well, where do the events come from? Well, they come from internal sources, from technology, processes, personnel, infrastructure, and external sources, economic, natural environment, political, and social sources. The next layer in the ERM is risk assessment, and this is where both qualitative and quantitative methods are used to assess risks in terms of likelihood and impact. Now, just for fun, I made what is called a risk assessment matrix here at Kelly. I asked the question, what are the potential consequences of walking out the front door? And in this matrix, all the columns represent the impact, and we go from negligible to catastrophic, and each row represents the likelihood of occurrence. So starting with the first row, if I walked out the front door, I would see a busy street. Well, this is most certainly an event that would happen, but the impact is negligible. It happens all the time. Second row, I could bump into somebody, and this is most likely. It's pretty crowded out in the front of the building, and it could have a marginal impact. I could have somebody step on my foot or something. The next row I could be hit by a bulldozer, and this could be possible with all the construction, and it would have a critical impact. Or I could be struck by lightning, and this is most unlikely, but it could also be critical for me. And then the last row here is I could be hit by a locust swarm. This would have a negligible impact, and luckily this would be a rare occurrence. Worst case scenario is I could be hit by a comet, and this could be catastrophic, and fortunately it would be a rare occurrence. This is what companies do. They create risk assessment matrices, and they focus on cells in the upper right-hand corner of the matrix. These are the ones that could have extreme or high impact in terms of dollar value or employees or assets, and they are threats that could very likely or most certainly occur. So here is a flow diagram of what a company does. They identify the threats or the events that confront the company, and these can come from external or internal sources. They estimate the likelihood or probability that each event could occur, and this could be done by assigning a percentage of probability. And they also estimate the impact of potential loss for each threat, and this could be in terms of dollars usually. They identify a set of controls to guard against each threat, and the controls can be preventive controls, detective controls, or corrective controls. And it's best to identify more than one control, and this is called defense in depth. Now, for each control, there should be estimates made of the costs and benefits for instituting each control. It would be cost prohibitive to create a control that provided foolproof protection against all events. Also, some controls negatively affect operational efficiency, and too many controls can make it very inefficient. Expected costs are calculated, and they are calculated by multiplying the dollar impact by the percentage likelihood. And the value of a control is the difference between the expected cost with the procedure and the expected cost without it. At this point, management makes a decision. Do they accept, reduce, share, or avoid the risk? By accepting, that means that they're going to do nothing to prevent the event from occurring. By reducing the risk, they're going to add an internal control. By sharing the risk means that they can transfer some of the threat or the risk to others, and that could include insurance companies, or they could buy bonds for their employees, or they could even outsource the event. And then by avoiding, this means that they just don't engage in this activity that produces the risk. In other words, they could just stop producing a product, or they could sell off a division of their company. So in summary, risk is addressed in the ERM by event identification, risk assessment, meaning identify likelihood and the impact of each threat, and identifying a set of controls along with its costs and benefits, and then making a decision to accept, reduce, share, or avoid the risk.